We're back. Okay, so
Yeah, we had to switch to mobile because the laptop was very slow. So
yes,
yeah.
and we disconnected somewhere in the middle of expressing our gratitude to our teachers, and not to lighten the mood anything in that regard. It is with a lot of gratitude to our teachers that we are here today, doing the things we do and sharing the things that we do share every day in our classes, in our workshops, in our sessions. And when we're thinking about what we'll talk about today, a number of factors, the graduation ceremony that we just came out of, the Teachers' Day that we celebrated, it just naturally got us to think that we'll speak about teaching and about, is it about our journey around teaching, or, right? What are we talking about?
Well, we'll talk a bit about what exactly is teaching and how can one approach teaching. And we'll share it through our own experience of how we approach teaching yoga, practicing yoga. And then we can also maybe share some insights as to how aspiring teachers or the new budding teachers can approach teaching yoga, because a lot of information today is diluted. So maybe we can just share. And would you like to start and talk about how's your practice and approach to teaching?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest lessons that I've learned as a teacher now, as a yoga teacher, is that I'm never fully there. I'm not completely there yet, and neither now nor I wasn't completely there yesterday, and it's always a work in progress. And I think knowing that in itself sets the tone of how we approach teaching, where we approach it always as a practitioner, always as a student. But having said that, you do have students who come to you, and we have spent time training ourselves to teach. So there has to be a level of a value system or a purpose around what drives us to become a teacher. And for me, it's always been about sharing, because something that I do today is just a precursor to what I'd be inspired to teach tomorrow or to learn more about tomorrow. So that curiosity is something that really motivates me to do something differently the next time. But with that difference, and exactly like what you said, there's so much of the information that's diluted. The need for evolution, or that need for change, should not actually affect what is constant. The actual, the teaching, the wisdom that we have, and sometimes it's the scriptures, or it is the teaching that we have been, that has been passed down through the lineage. It is something that we need to stay true to. So, I also do understand, Shobhit, sometimes when we are learning ourselves, when we're approaching scripture, we're constantly re-evaluating ourselves and also learning something new about that.
Yes.
So we can't have a static experience, and we can't teach today about something that we experienced 10 years ago. There is an experience, but the way we teach it becomes more evolved as we go. And likewise, the experiences of our teachers also evolve. So they have also been changing. And this, but then there is also to understand the need or the gap of what the students are looking for today. There's this need for contemporary. I remember you used to say something, the next best thing. You used to call that, right? Everyone's looking for the next best thing. Yeah. You finished one thing and then you want to do the next thing.
Like a fix.
Yeah, like a quick fix, no? That helps to some extent. But then when it's matched along with, or when it's taken side by side with integrity, with the values that we have, that define and design as well what we are going to be, how we are going to teach this, then that brings a completely new element to it.
Yes.
Huh? What about you?
A lot of the points resonate because, as Luvena mentioned, our endeavor is to remain a lifelong student. Because, I think we give ourselves too much importance that we are teachers. And yes, we are, because, we are helping people change, helping people grow, uplifting people, overcome any disease they have. But at the same time, we have to remind ourselves that we're only a medium to this process. And we're just sharing what we have learned from our teachers. And they have learned that from their teachers. And it's a very ancient wisdom it just happened to be grateful to be able to learn that, practice it, and share it. So I think the takeaway for all of us and even the teachers watching this is to remain humble and keep reminding ourselves, because the ego can crop up in disguised ways. So keep reminding ourselves to stay humble and always give appreciate the source where we learned the teachings from. So that is one point of being a lifelong student and staying humble. Yeah, the other thing which Luvena mentioned is that it's important for us to identify the needs. And in the kind of work Luvena and I do, we have identified a need of today's society. And like Luvena was mentioning, we have to adapt. Yoga was taught in a certain way, say 1,000 years ago. Now the need is completely different. Maybe it's more towards mental health, peace of mind, right? So the spiritual aspect has taken a back seat. And we have to understand that as teachers, realize it, and even offer it to practitioners based on their needs. And for that one, we have to experience it ourselves, whatever the journey it is. Also, we have to experience it through interaction with other people. And hopefully then we can go out and teach with empathy and not just because it's a script. Inhale, lengthen your spine, observe your breath, witness this, witness that. But our intention and energy can really bring about a change in the practitioner's life.
Yeah. That's very interesting, because just a few days ago I was speaking with someone and they were talking about, the people who want to practice yoga, who want to learn yoga, but don't want to have the spiritual side of things. They don't want the spiritual, or they don't want to dip into the spiritual side of things. And as teachers, when we talk about the needs of what needs people are looking at, if the practitioner comes with a need that says that I'm not in for the spirituality, I'm just in it for the flexibility, right? Now, at that point in time, so the empathy comes from understanding that those practitioners or those students might be in it for the body at this point in time, and that's okay. So if you look at it at any level, if you look at it on the level of the koshas, they're still on the outermost kosha. Right, they're still on the most gross, the densest of all, the annamaya, where they're still looking at the body, and that's where their awareness is. If you look at it on a philosophy level, then they're still looking at the stula, they're still looking at the body, the gross, the physical part of it, and that's okay, because that might be their need at that point in time, and we can't pull them, we can't force them into experiencing something else. And that's where the empathy comes in, the empathy of understanding. And this is where teaching really comes in, because teaching cannot be it can't be a one-way forced street. It has to evolve in a way that we know who we're addressing. And I think this is the best part about how our teachers also taught us. Shobhit and I have had the same teacher as well. And the way I approached him and the way he approached me is very different to how you would have approached him, because we are different personalities. The way we approach someone else or the way we see things might be very significantly different. So a good teacher is someone who can see that, and not shove an experience down our throats. Or you don't shove an experience down a student's throat and say, with the intention or with the expectation that this is the experience they should have. The should get out. The should get out. No?
Yes.
So how is it then? So what is it? What motivates us then? What motivates us to be teachers?
It's a good question. So personally for me, doing work with an impact has always been a key factor of motivation. And we can call it purpose, having ambition, drive, whatever. But in the end, to me, if I do work with an impact in the larger scale, to me that's a part of my purpose. And teaching does help to sort of work towards that at a collective level. And also the other aspect for me is a little selfish, because it helps me grow in personally, physically as well, spiritually, psychologically. So it's always because I think we learn a lot, rather more when we are teaching than on the mat.
Right, very true.
Yeah.
Or even if we're on the mat,
Yes.
right? So that lifelong student bit that's there. When we talk about purpose and the selfish thing that the part that is that at the end of the day, yoga is a self practice, isn't it? It is something that we do for ourselves.
Yeah.
It is something that so there is an element of wanting that spiritual evolution for ourselves, and then we also are reminded to detach from that want. So that's why there are times when we say that I'm so in love with yoga and I want to do this all the time, but then that is that attachment, So it is something that brings us down instead of actually taking us up to the next level.
Yes. And it's also looking at self-care. We were talking about this earlier. As yoga teachers, self-care can take a backseat because we have classes, we have workshops, and I think every teacher at one point does experience burnout. And for that, we can look at practice as a form of self-care. So when we have a daily self-care through routine, good food, good interactions, right? Sleeping on time, waking up on time, it can give us the energy to go and teach because we can only give what we have. So if we want to give love, we have to love ourselves first. If we want to give knowledge, we have to learn ourselves first.
I'm glad that we're speaking this in front of everyone. So there is a question. See, I've got my audience that's outside of India as well, apart from just our yoga teachers or the teachers in training here in India. And we do hear this sometimes, of who can teach yoga. Have you thought of it? Who can teach yoga? I know for you it might be, I don't want to be very judgmental about it because it has an aspect of judgment attached to it. But then we hear this a lot, not just in terms of the nationality, not just in terms of the inheritance, but who should teach yoga? And that's a totality in question, no?
Yeah.
Is it, who is entitled to, who is allowed to, who should, these are all very weighing questions, very weighted questions as well. Do you have any thoughts? I have lots of them, but I thought it would be nice to, just give an idea.
So who should
So
teach?
I'll start with some of my thoughts, then maybe then you can just add in. So usually there is this question about who holds the right to teach yoga. Now, many of us are self-made yoga teachers, right? Self-made in the sense we join a learning program and we learn the tools of it, we learn the different subjects and the topics, and then we say, okay, now we've done this. And many of us come with the passion to want to make a difference. And then we study, there's a lot of swadhyaya and all of that involved. And many of us come from a lineage also of learning. So we've got this both the knowledge and wisdom that has been transmitted down from our teachers, and we're passing it onwards. And there is that flow, that continuous flow that goes on. But conversations today also are around teachers who teach, but not from an authentic source.
Yes.
Teachers who, like, for example, if you and I graduate today and tomorrow we do a teacher's training program, right? And we don't have that much, or we don't have you know what I mean?
The experience
it's not only the experience, it's who taught me this, where did I get this from? And without that, anyone who's been practicing would just take it as a body practice. It would only be an asana practice. So the difference for me is not just making a teacher training program or a teacher as in an asana practice, but actually bringing yoga in its totality, and there should be a reference point beyond what I teach. Where does what I teach come from? Who does it come from? And that in itself gives us something as a backdrop to continue teaching. I know there's a lot of socio-political conversation also around it, but right now the who to teach do you think it needs that backing of an authentic source?
Yes, definitely. A source is very important because at the beginning of the live we acknowledged a lot of information and the approach to yoga has been diluted. First, that it has been brought into the most physical form, that yoga equals asana. And so first, as teachers, we have to understand our role in spreading the awareness of yoga beyond asanas, because there are many asana teachers out there, and what differentiates an asana teacher to a yoga teacher is a question to ask ourselves. And second thing is learning from an authentic source or lineage is very important because we're having so many forms of yoga, but essentially it's working with the body, the breath, the mind, and even the soul. So it's good to have being tied to a lineage because what we're offering is still there. Yes, it might have to be adapted to the modern need in some way, but the essence lies in that. And going back to the question, who should teach yoga? I don't think we can answer that, but if somebody has experienced a bit of pain in life, then they can teach yoga. Because to really, if we say that yoga is to eliminate suffering and pain, or rather reduce it, then one has to have that journey of pain themselves. Pain can be physical, emotional, spiritual. So that is one. And second one is having a deep connection and meaning with life. So although we talk about vairagya and detachment, but for that there needs to be a high level of sensitivity towards self and others to go out and teach. Else it's only inhale, exhale, bend, move.
Just the stipulated moves of lengthening our spine, lengthening the spine for everyone else. And there is also that sense of community, Shobhit, that we have when we teach. The sense of community amongst ourselves, and I like what you said in class and reminding the graduates about the satsanga. To have that community that's going to bring people together, because it isn't just a program where you come, learn, and move on. And I've seen that from many of the programs that we've had also. A lot of it comes from our peers, from our colleagues, from our students also. Our community grows from there in how we actually... so we become little center points, don't you think? Where energy just flows.
Yes, definitely. Yes, and for the lack of time, we won't be able to take up questions today. But we do have a few people who have joined us. So namaste, Bindu, and I see Cheryl, Shweta is here. So hello to all of you.
Hi.
Thanks for joining in. And
Anuja.
Maybe we'll end it with if you have takeaway points for teachers out there, what would you tell them?
Whatever you tell them. So for teachers,
3 points.
First of all, three points only, huh? Only 3 points. Okay. For the rest of them, you can message me. One is be authentic. Truly be yourself, because there's no one else who can say things the way you would say it yourself. And if you try to be someone else or speak like someone else, it won't hold true. Second, bring your entire experience to your teachings. Don't try to stereotype yourself by being someone else or speaking like someone else or teaching what someone else has taught or teaching what you've read somewhere. Bring your entire experience. There is immense value in being a mother, in being an employee, in being a fruit vendor, in being a painter. There is value because there are so many lessons that we learn from that. And those help teachers connect with their students. They help them connect with their students and practitioners, even if they won't be teachers ever again. So build that connection. And thirdly is continue learning. Just remember that the humility is very important. You need to really remind yourself every single day that you do not know everything. And that immediately puts you on a place where you can receive. And when you receive new things, new experiences, then it helps you shift what is stuck and really helps you be of service.
Right.
Those are my 3 points. What are yours?
Very nice. Yeah. Think of it. I was thinking humility for sure. And,
he wanted to steal my points.
I would say the first thing would be being grateful, which is a part of humility. So gratitude to our teachers, and on that note, I'd like to thank my teachers, our teacher rather, Pradeep and Swami Yogaratna, and whoever else was taught us in different ways. I want to thank Luvena for teaching anatomy and many more things apart from that. So being grateful to, in overall being grateful to be able to teach, to be able to share, to be able to practice, to be able to move, breathe. Like we have a lot actually. And so be grateful. That's the first thing. Second one is work towards moving beyond asanas, because as we clearly discussed, yoga is not asana, and I believe if we have more teachers who are practicing more than asanas, then they will also start to teach more than asanas, and there's enough awareness already about yoga. But if you start to move it beyond asana, then I think we can see more of an impact and more effective teaching through yoga. So move beyond asana, be grateful, and the third one I would say is keep doing your introspection. Keep, be it daily or be it weekly, just go back to your journal or your meditation, whatever works for you, and check that how far have we come from when we started. How were our thoughts, emotions, and behavior this week or today? Because a lot can get lost out in details. We move from one to another, one class to another, one task to another, and it's important for us to slow down, breathe, and just be by observing ourselves. And I'd like to end by saying something with Swami Niranjananda said that. He said he emphasized the importance of 3S, which is seva, so being of service, sadhana, practice, and sadhana is also off the mat, and then swadhyaya. So this is very important, and maybe add another satsanga also to it.
Yeah, and speaking of satsanga, I'd like to invite all our teachers in India especially. I'm really looking at creating a group of teachers along with a friend of mine. She's actually taking the lead on this, so it's not entirely my idea, but since I don't have a permission to name her on this video, I won't, but you can please connect with us. And the idea is to really start building a group of teachers in India who really want to take the philosophy to the next level, to be involved in the philosophy, to go beyond asana, to have discussions, and to be with like-minded yoga teachers who are looking at building this community. So if you'd like to get started on that, if you'd like to be a part of this, please send me a message. You can send a message to Shobhit as well, and we'll look forward to connecting with each other on that front. So until then, and until the next time, and this time we won't take too long for the next Facebook Live.
Sure.
Okay. He said sure. He said that right now. Okay. See you all. Thank you for being here with us. And a very, very happy, it's belated, but a happy Teachers' Day to all the teachers who are around. We have teachers who we've studied from. Yes, our own teachers, Pradeep, Satpamaya, and Swami Yogaratna. And then we've got so many other teachers from 1000 Yoga, where we graduated from. We've got teachers who we've learned from even beyond and after 1000 Yoga, after our yoga trainings. And to all our families, our friends, our school teachers, people who we are constantly learning from and from each other, and students as well, definitely, because you can't have a Teachers' Day without, or you can't have teachers without students. So thank you very much, everyone, and we shall see you all soon.
Soon, yes. Namaste.
Namaste.